Hello, dear friends. I hope you're good. Welcome. This is the Mystic Marcy channel, and one big topic on this channel is going to be Carlos Castaneda. And in this video, I would like to explain to you how I found this, why I decided to practice that, to follow that path, and how it all happened. So, to make a long story short, at the beginning of my 30s, I had a bit of a psychedelic phase. I was trying to get deeper, and in my life, I've never really taken any substances or drugs. But after a few years of research, I carefully tried natural psychedelics such as mushrooms, and I had some very interesting, amazing, life-changing experiences. However, after that phase, I realized, okay, I should really look at the following. If there's any discipline or tradition which teaches methods where you can have similar experiences without any substances, then I will really commit to that. And again, I did research and I found two particular traditions. One is the Dzogchen Buddhism, which is also known as anti-yoga. And the other one was the world of Carlos Castaneda. And in my case, I resonated more with Castaneda's path. And what I did is I did research, and somewhere I read this word, inorganic being. And I was like, what on this earth is an inorganic being? And once I followed that, I found this whole world of Castaneda, and I was like, oh my God, this is what I was looking for all my life. And that's the case for many people, like many people who feel very intuitive or psychic, even while being a child. Later in life, once they got socialized, they still have this inner intuition and connection, and then they look what kind of traditions are out there. And often when people find Castaneda's work, it's like, oh my God, this is what I was looking for all my life. So I read the books. There are around 13 books, but there are actually more if you also incorporate the books of Taisha Abela, the women, and so on. It's more like 16 books, and even more if you add some really valuable other contributions from people later on. So in total, we're talking about maybe more like 20 books. And I started to do the practices. So I started to get into Castaneda around, I think, 2019, 2020, something like this. And then at some point I started practicing. So there are 5 main methods. One is called stalking. One is called recapitulation. One is called dreaming. One is called wake dreaming or dark room. And one is called tensegrity, which also entails the magical passes. And to be honest, in order to really understand Castaneda's world, even on some basic level, the way to go is to really practice. You will not understand anything without doing the practices. That's a bit of a barrier to entry, yeah? Like, this is not cognitive work. This is not even purely spiritual work. It's energetic work, and it goes very, very deep, okay? So on this channel, I would like to also document my own progress a little bit, but just as a little disclaimer, some things may sound completely crazy to you if you yourself didn't really engage in the methods, okay? It's not even enough to read all the books. You need to actually practice, and to be honest, you need to practice at least for a few years just to get things started. I will talk about all these methods in detail in separate videos. In my case, so I did some recapitulation, stalking, a lot of dark room, gazing, and just a bit of tensegrity, like only a few magical passes, because I found it difficult to learn that just from the book. But in a minute, I will explain what I did about that. But just from those years of practice, I was able to actually even have those Castaneda dreams. And that's something incredible, okay? So normally people start by trying to find their hands in their dreams, and there are different techniques. For example, during the day, you can look at your hands several times. And then when you're dreaming and you find your hands, that's where it all starts. But there are the 5 gates of dreaming, and we come to that in a separate video. But to make a long story short, I was able to actually dream according to that method, and it's very intense. It's like you are in some other world, you visit another world. It's all HD, it's realer than real. It's not even like a trip or anything like that, you know, it's something way deeper. But we come to all of that. Now, I should explain just freely to give you a general idea. One of the concepts and realities is that we all have we have an energy body. So when you look at us, our physical body around us, like a luminous egg, we have like this energy field, and more precisely than in the back of our shoulder blades, we have the so-called assemblage point, which is like a focus of energy. And with the methods, you learn to basically move your assemblage point intentionally down. It looks like a J, so some people call it J curve. Like all the way down, and it comes up again. And what happens when you move the assemblage point is your perception changes. Then you realize that every person has experienced changes in the assemblage point naturally. For example, people had nightmares, or especially women, they are, because of the womb energy and the cycles, their assemblage point tends to be less rigid as compared to men. But the point is to actually intentionally move the assemblage point so that your perception changes. And then many things are possible, such as the dreaming and having hyper intuition, experiencing hyper synchronicity, and many other things. Getting messages from spirit, you know. Now, I would like to say as well, there is no belief system, there is no dogma. Okay, this is not a religion. This is not neither any sect or anything like that, okay? Everything leads to inner silence. You're trying to find guidance through inner silence. There are no gurus. There is no rules. There is nothing, okay? This is very important. Look how beautiful. I love this rain in the summer. The universe agrees with me. So, the more I got into this, the deeper I got into this, the more I realized that every person can learn to develop psychic abilities. Some people naturally are more talented, others maybe less talented, but everybody in theory can develop psychic abilities. If you put in the work and you're determined and you follow those methods, your life will change forever, for the better, because you are going really deep. You understand yourself better, you understand others better, and everything becomes more like a flow. It's difficult to put into words sometimes. So to come back to my path, even though I had like various big intent gifts, some incredible experiences, I realized there was one area where I was lacking, and that was tensegrity, okay? Yes, there are some videos on the internet, but it's not easy to just learn the magical passes by trying to copy those, okay? So in 2025, this year, I took the plunge and I participated in a workshop in Milan, which was organized by Clear Green, which is the company Carlos Castaneda actually founded before his death, and who is still led by some of his very close partners, such as Renata Mures and other people. And you know, before I went, I had really low expectations. I was like, you know what, who knows, maybe just a few people are coming and maybe it's gonna be weird. And I was so positively surprised. There were like 70, 80 people from around the world, the nicest people. Like I never experienced to be in a group and be so welcome and so part of the group. Like you can see literally the eyes of people there, yeah, that they have really done some work, and it's difficult to describe that. And I always assumed that this path is very lonely. And yes, parts of it are definitely lonely. However, remember, even Castaneda himself, he had a lot of people around him, and he worked with those people energetically, magically. And that's basically what's still done today, okay? So I after this workshop, I even decided to join this program, and it has been amazing so far, yeah. And yeah, like this one area, really, like the magical passes, they gave me a massive boost as well, okay? And I don't think I could have easily done it on my own. So now I had all 5 methods. And of course, it never stops. For example, I realized recently I still have to do way more recapitulation, okay? It's an ongoing process. And then again, life also, with its ups and downs, naturally creates those moments where you are more in line with these magical experiences. And sometimes in life takes you away a little bit because you have to do things here in this reality. But as they say, like the idea is to have 1 foot here and 1 foot on the other side. So to be in both worlds. And that was always like something I felt I should do in my life, okay? So yeah, so I'm in the process now of properly learning tensegrity. They taught us some incredible moves. I would think until now they taught us maybe around 6 moves, 6 passes, maybe 7. And it continues, like every week there are either meetings or we learn a new pass, and then you practice at home those passes. And it's incredible because I realized what you're doing by doing the movements, you're making the magical side part of your everyday life and everyday reality. Among other things, there are many, many deep energies behind the moves, okay? It goes far beyond the fact that you are moving muscles you don't move during your normal life. It's about energy, okay? This whole work is about energy. All the methods are about unleashing energy which is trapped either in memories or traumas or past experiences or by things such as self-importance and so on. So the idea is really to clean this up, okay? So that your perception is as sensitive as it can be, yeah. So you're literally unlearning many things. You realize that when you become an adult, and especially if you get educated and so on, they fix your assemblage point at certain places, and you want to undo that because you want to be a master of your own life. You want to be able to change it according to your own intent. This work is all about intent. Like they say, your link to intent has to be clean. And then you realize that one of the most powerful forces ever is your own intent when it's authentic. If you direct your intent at something, and if you do it for the right reasons and from the right energy, everything is possible. And then in the end, you become free. Okay? That's a big thing, like to actually reach proper freedom. Not illusionary freedom, which people think they will have once they have material possessions or this or that. Yeah, this will never make you truly free. But this inner work makes you free. And there's also a whole playful component in there as well. I like it a lot personally. I'm a playful person, and there is definitely room for that. Yeah, working with emanations of your energy body, working with inorganic beings and seeing things. It's fascinating, okay? It's life-changing. I'm forever thankful to Carlos Castaneda and the whole group which is still doing this work today. Like, it's incredible. I will be forever thankful. Okay, so this is an overview. This is a short summary, and I would like to do videos now and then, so I would like to do different things. On the one hand, I would like to talk about specific topics in separate videos. So 1 video per topic, and then I also would like to yeah, do a bit of a vlog, documenting my personal progress, what I learned, what I'm struggling with, what my strategies are. So to document my own path here together with you, and maybe that helps you in your own path. I find that very interesting. So these are basically two things I have in mind. And then later on also to do other videos which are a bit more going beyond this whole path. But yeah, I wish I found this work earlier, but then they say everything happens just in the right time. And maybe to end this video, I should give like the general story regarding Castaneda. So to make a long story short, in the 60s, he was an anthropologist at the University of California, and he went to Mexico hoping to find someone who is very familiar with the power plants and anthropological aspects of the indigenous people. And then he ended up meeting Don Juan de Matos, who was a proper shaman, and who spent years with him doing an apprenticeship with Carlos. And he wrote those books documenting this apprenticeship, and at some point he just became a participant of this whole process. And by documenting it so nicely in the books, he enabled so many other people to understand all these aspects of this Olmec shamanism. It comes from very ancient times. And yeah, Don Juan was a Nagual, as they call him, and he basically taught Carlos the things he knew, and it was necessary because the lineage ended as well. So it's so funny because in those books he depicts himself as a village idiot, like Carlos always writes, as if he would be the most silly person on earth. But it comes out how intelligent and how incredible this man is, even in his language, in his writing, in the precision and the attention to details, in the way of describing things. And I also realized that was the only way to write this. Now, parts of these books are written in the second attention. That's something people don't understand. That's why he was accused of inventing things, or that these things would be science fiction or whatever. It would all be a hoax. No, it wasn't a hoax. It was all real. But parts of it are written from the second attention. I will explain that in another video. Okay. And it all starts with things such as becoming an impeccable warrior. Okay. Doing things intentionally, that everything matters. Okay. It starts with these things. But then it comes to the way to inner silence, up to the point where he learns certain abilities, such as channeling into animals, seeing the world from their perspective, doing very intense dream work, all kinds of things which are really far beyond the imagination of the average person today in the West. Okay? That's the whole point. And I would like to end this video with this aspect. That's the really fascinating aspect for me. There is this tradition, there are methods. Okay, they are not completely subjective. You can learn that. You have to be dedicated. You have to put in work, effort, energy. But if you do it, and if you're patient, these things will happen in your own life. And they will really change your life forever. In an incredible way. In my personal case, that's what I was looking for all my life. And for many other people, it's similar. It's going as deep as you can. It's not just understanding cognitively yourself and all that. No. It's being connected to spirit. That's what this is about.